Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Schwab. Before we get on into the review, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new content. I post new videos every Sunday and every Wednesday. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box for links to my other social media as well as my Patreon, where you have the opportunity to win books in quarterly giveaways. So the way that I structure my reviews is I talk about the plot, the characters, the things that I like, and the things that I didn't like, and then I give it an overall rating.
In the year 1714, in a moment of desperation, a young woman named Adeline meets a dangerous stranger and makes a terrible mistake. As she realizes the limitations of her bargain, being able to live forever without being able to be remembered by anyone she sees, Addie chooses to flee her small village in France as everything she once held dear is torn away. But there are still dreams to be had and a life to live, and she is determined to find excitement and satisfaction in the wide, beckoning world, even if she will be doomed to be alone forever. Or not quite alone, as every year on her birthday, the alluring Luce comes to visit, checking to see if she's ready to give up her soul. Their darkly thrilling game stretches through the ages, seeing Addie witness history and fight to regain herself as she crosses oceans and tries on various lives. It will be 300 years before she stumbles into a hidden bookstore and discovers someone who can remember her name. And suddenly, everything changes again.
Now I'm going to talk about the characters. So the first character I'm going to be talking about is Addie, or Adeline. She is our protagonist, and we are first introduced to her in the 1700s, and we learn that she is a girl who is experiencing some sort of wanderlust. Like, she wants to go to the different villages with her father, she wants to see things, she wants to experience things, she wants to live, and she feels rather confined to living in the small French village where her family resides. So she takes to, drawing things and just expanding her imagination. Fast forward a couple of years when Addie is in her 20s, and her parents kind of force her into marrying a local man who has recently been widowed, and he has a couple of children, and that is just not what Adeline wants. She wants to live outside of her village. She wants to go into the world and have memories and experiences. In order to escape this marriage and get out of this situation, Adeline decides to make a deal with the devil. She just wants to live and be someone who is her own person and be free. And the devil grants her this request, says, I will allow you to live. I will make you immortal. But the crux of that is you will have no impact on this world. No one will remember who you are. I liked Addie first off because I liked that the author used her to address the feelings of wanderlust, because I personally love traveling and seeing and experiencing new things. And I can understand why someone telling you, no, you can't do that, would make you rebel and be like, I'm going to be my own person. So considering that the context and history, the time period that she was living in, I can definitely understand why she did what she did. I can honestly say that Adeline went through some harsh stuff as she was trying to figure out this curse with the devil, kind of figure out the loopholes, trying to figure out how she was going to live in a world that no one could remember her and she made no mark upon. So the first couple chapters were definitely her suffering. There's a lot of suffering that Adeline went through in order to learn how to function as this ghost, basically. And I thought that was so empowering because Adeline did what she had to do, and sometimes it wasn't pretty, and she really would not give up. She was very, very strong, very determined, and every couple of years the devil would come back to her and say, look, you can give me your soul, I'll let you die and you can be free of this suffering. And Adeline, she is persistent, and she kept saying, no, I want to live, I want to experience, I'm going to see the world, I'll suffer if I have to. So at first glance, it might really sound kind of foolish on Adeline's part, and I guess to a certain extent it is, but I think that the fact that she, number one, is going to do what she wants to do, number two, she's persistent, and number three, she realized that this devil is a jerk and she's not going to let him get the better of her, really shows what an awesome, strong character she is. I also like seeing Adeline's growth from the beginning of the story to the end of the story because it goes over a span of about 300 years. And we see how she changes and becomes basically accustomed to the life that she's forced to live. And I really like how, despite all that, she still retains some sense of her humanity because she's not able to really interact with people on anything but a superficial basis, but yet she's still able to retain the ability to love selflessly and unconditionally. And I thought that was a really good attribute for V.E. Schwab to place within her. Next, I'm going to talk about Luce, and this is the devil that places this curse on Adeline. And I can honestly say that he was a character that I never really warmed up to. Like, he was definitely an evil character, and I feel like the Schwab just did try to give him some sort of semblance of humanity, but I just never bought it. Like, he was not human, he was a demon, and he did not and was not capable of true love, of kindness, of selflessness. Like, he was just not capable of that. And there were times within the book where the Schwab tried to make it appear like he was able to love and was able to understand those sacrificial actions and what it actually meant. But to me, it always rang very hollow. So, in my opinion, Luce for me personally was just the antagonist. I really didn't feel much for him other than the fact that he was there for the curse and that's it. And he was the one thing that Adeline had to be in order to, overcome her challenges. And next we have Henry. Now, I was not even expecting there to be a third character or even a second point of view, but Henry is the second point of view in this book. And Henry is a modern day 28 or 9-year old, and I liked Henry because V.E. Schwab wrote him as someone who is suffering from depression and mental illness. And I just was not expecting that to be addressed in this book with one of our main characters. So I felt like the way that he fit into the plot was really well done. I was just not expecting it personally. So he ends up being a part of Addie's life, and there's a reason for it. And then we learn more about his past and what has happened to him to basically place him in Addie's life. And he's basically a way for Addie to show the reader that she is still human and that she is capable of unconditional love. So I liked Henry. I really liked the fact that we saw into his mind and the depression and suicidal thoughts that he was dealing with. I felt like it was extremely well done and definitely relatable to, I feel like, a lot of people and even me personally at some points. So Henry was just a pleasure to have, especially being given a point of view as he was. Now I'm going to talk about the things that I like. So I have a lot more likes than I do dislikes. So this is going to go a little bit longer. So the first thing I like was the writing style. Like, I think I said this when I did my wrap up for Vengeful. V.E. Schwab has a really, really succinct, short writing style, very short sentences, not very descriptive. But despite that, like, she packs a lot of emotion into those short sentences and into the little bit of description that she gives the reader. And I mean, I wish I could do that. I feel like when I write, I'm like paragraphs long trying to explain one thing, but somehow she's capable of just communicating so much in so little. And it really makes for a super fast, easy read. So I really enjoyed her prose. I also felt like this book was a little bit more flowery than her previous books. Like, there was just a ton of metaphors, but they were so well done and so beautiful. And I really enjoyed her writing in this book. The next thing I really liked in this book was all of the themes. So at first glance, this, synopsis might seem rather superficial, but this book explored so many deep, profound questions about mental health, humanity, and I mean, the list goes on. I wrote down a couple of some of my favorite themes that this book addressed, but it just really hit home on several different things that are so relevant to humans. So the first thing I really liked was the theme of addressing what is love exactly, because there are several instances in the book where Addie has relationships with many, many people, and I don't want to tell you who exactly for spoilers, but the words are uttered, "I love you," and then it explores how the actions of someone don't always equal when they say I love you. Like, what does it mean to love? What do acts of love look like? What is the difference between saying I love you and then doing certain things? And I really like that because I personally think that actions of love are way more important than saying I love you, because you can say I love you, but doing something selflessly and self-sacrificially is so much harder to do than just saying I love you. So I felt like that was a really, really good theme that was addressed and played out in the book. Another theme I really liked that was explored was our need for others and for other humans. So Addie goes through life and people forget her. She can meet someone and then 10 minutes later they look away from her, they look back and they have no clue who she is. It's just she is really unable to form any type of relationships with anybody. So I really liked how the theme of how important it is to have people in your life who love you and care for you and are there for you is, because Addie had none of that. And I just can't imagine going 300 years without any type of human interaction that was any more than a couple minutes long. And I just felt like V.E. Schwab was trying to hone in on the point that all of us need each other. And the last theme I really liked that V.E. Schwab explored in this book was what makes us important in this world. Luz constantly tells her, look, you can't create anything that will have any sort of impression on this world. So, are you even important? The fact that you exist if no one knows who you are. So, in my personal opinion, I felt like that theme can go so deep and even to the core of why are we created? Why are we created? Is it to please other people, or is it to please, God? What actually are we here for, and what makes us important in this world? So I just felt like that theme, there can be so many discussions around it and so many theories. And I really liked that it was addressed. I mean, it wasn't answered because, that's a really deep question, but it definitely was addressed and it made me personally think. Now I'm going to talk about the things that I didn't like. And really, there was only one thing that I didn't like. And this is a complete personal preference that I feel like the majority of people probably would just, it wouldn't matter to them. But I felt like the book just was very heavy on the sexual content. Not that it was super graphic, because it wasn't super graphic, but I felt like every other chapter and every other experience that Addie had with anybody ended in some sort of sexual encounter. Not only her, but also Henry and even Luce. So I just felt like the book was just a little bit heavy on the sexual content. And when I went into it, I just was not expecting that. Like, a couple things here and there in scenes is fine, but it was quite a bit. It was a lot. In the end, I ended up loving Addie LaRue. I loved the writing style. I love how quickly it was able to read. I loved the characters. I loved the story overall. I loved the curse and how Addie was able to finagle different parts of the curse in order to make it work for her and in order to be successful and survive in this world. And I really loved the questions that the book brought up about humanity and why do we exist. And I just thought it was a really, really well done book. In the end, I gave The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue 5 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely recommend it, especially if you haven't read V.E. Schwab before. I think it's a great place to start. All right, you guys, that is it for my spoiler-free review of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Let me know in the comments if you've read this or plan to read it, or what you thought about some of the themes that V.E. Schwab presented, and I will see you guys soon in another video. Goodbye.